A new Hollywood Reporter article asks, is Disney bad at Star Wars? An analysis. High budget scrap projects, fan backslash. It's been 12 years since Disney bought Star Wars, and a galaxy far, far away, arguably, has too many broken toys. Let's talk about this article, where I agree, where I don't, what's worked, what hasn't, and why. R9 Pops, this is an article from THR. James Hibbard wrote this. Is Disney bad at Star Wars? And it talks about Force Awakens and how Rey and Finn were fleeing the stormtroopers. They were looking for a way to escape. Rey spots a Millennium Falcon and says, it looks like garbage. And quickly, garbage will do. And quote, increasingly, that's the attitude some fans have about Disney Star Wars programming. Look, we all know it isn't fantastic anymore, but Star Wars is still Star Wars, and there it will do. And I'm like, huh, that actually is not an erroneous assessment. That's pretty much how a lot of folks feel. This is at best a lukewarm franchise. Like, because you can look at box office numbers from like Force Awakens to Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker, obviously Rogue One and Solo. Then you get into like the TV shows, Mandalorian season 1, season 2, maybe Andor, and you have a kind of a gradient that everyone kind of look to. All right, so let's read a little bit together. So let's run through Disney's Star Wars legacy to date, quote unquote, Force Awakens to Acolyte, and see what conclusions might be drawn because several aspects of the company's track record admittedly look shaky. A 5-movie franchise that halted after its box office returns trended in the wrong direction. Boy, that's true, right? Because even like Force Awakens, by the time you got to Rise of Skywalker, you're looking at like a 50% reduction, right? And you're looking at the disaster that was Solo. 6 live action TV shows, just one of which has been a multi season hit, meaning Mandalorian. A startling number of projects put into development and then abandoned, like Starships on Brock. Well, I mean, yeah, that is definitely a trend that everyone is kind of caught on. This last round of things with like the new Ray trilogy and some of the other stuff, even everyone kind of went into all that, like, we'll believe it when we see it kind of thing. So let the past die, kill it if you have to, the movie says. All right. After buying Lucasfilm, George Lucas in 2012, Disney relaunched Star Wars as a franchise, a trilogy in 2015, J.J. Abrams' Force Awakens. Kind of goes on, talks about Last Jedi, and then, let's see. Comedians learn in improv class to always say yes and in any idea introduced during a show, no matter how challenging. The studio and Abrams' reaction to Last Jedi was more like, no, actually, Rey is a nobody. She's a Palpatine. The result was a trilogy that's a mishmash of dueling creative vision. Boy, that is so true. Like, so instead of like having a plan that makes any sense of why Rey would be who she is, actually would have made sense that she was a Kenobi. Still go back to that. Like, you easily could have gotten yourself out of this mess and really could have revealed that Last Jedi really isn't that hard to fix. But again, the tragedy is what it is. Then it kind of goes through some of the numbers, talking about 2 billion for Force Awakens, 1.3, and then 1. Then it kind of goes around the same time. They're expanding with standalone movies, Rogue One, which earned $1 billion, which was very good at the time for sure, and then Solo, which was 393. And Solo is probably the best case because I have said I don't hate Solo as a sci-fi film. It feels more like a Flash Gordon film, just not a Star Wars film. And it's the first thing where you feel like, okay, this crazy, weird neo feminism woke stuff was getting like really in the way, but it hadn't gone full bore yet. Then we get to what I think is just a beautiful list here. It says the direct writers and directors who have come and gone. Ryan Johnson, supposed to get a new trilogy. David Benioff and Dan Heiss trilogy. Patty Jenkins, Colin Trevorrow, Damon Lindelof, David Goyer, Josh Trank, Guillermo del Toro, Taika Waititi, Kevin Feige. Projects were confidentially announced as movies, definitely happening until they weren't. Others were never revealed publicly. So many of those were just laughable right out of the gate. Like the Taika Waititi one, Damon Lindelof's been pretty clear and talked a lot about how this was not going to work out and why it went sideways. So some of these things were just a mess. It's just an awful era. Quote, if this seems rather chaotic for a studio that's famously meticulous, well, yes, it does. The charitable read on that is Star Wars movies should have been very special. Studios determined to get them right. Boy, that is so true. Man, I was just reading and revisiting Wrath of Khan and how they kind of end up with like 5 scripts of ideas. Even in the last 2 weeks, Nicholas Meyer went back and wrote a script. Like he like took all these best ideas to make one great idea. James Mangold developing a Dawn of Jedi feature. Sean Levy working on an untitled film. Jenkins' Rogue Squadron was resurrected this year. Lindelof's feature, Daisy Ridley's Rey, has shifted to director Sharmeen Obaid Chinoy. It's uncertain if any of these will be made. Well, definitely that last one is definitely the one where it's sort of like dead, quietly dead. So the shows, I can bring you in warm or I can bring you in cold. All right, Disney came out of the gate strong. The 2019 debut of Jon Favreau's The Mandalorian single-handedly made Disney Plus out of the box success. I totally agree. Like The Mandalorian season 1 was the serial, slow-paced, methodical process. I will say that the hoopla around Baby Yoda and becoming like the perch puppy that he is, it was fine until it became the center of the show and not Mandalorian, basically. And then, of course, as the ratings were slipping, you get backlash for the first time. And by the time you get to the later seasons here, you're talking about corresponding with the spinoff, which was Book of Boba Fett, which is where some problems with the franchise's TV efforts first emerged. Yeah, Boba Fett is freaking a disaster. To this day, I have no idea how alleged Star Wars fans would look at Boba Fett and think that's what you want to do. Having a dude walk around without his helmet on, never shoot anyone. He's not even in some of the episodes. Like the best part of Book of Boba Fett was the Mandalorian episodes. So it's crazy. Obi-Wan Kenobi, Deborah Chow's project. Hayden Christensen returned as Vader. Obi-Wan, 1.03 billion minutes of viewing according to Nielsen, even bigger than Mando season 3's opening. Concluded with a strong 860 million for the finale. Andor Rogue One talks about Tony Gilroy. Now, first of all, I'm going to say the biggest problem with Kenobi was, again, all the canon and lore breaking, right? So he's running around with Perch Puppy. So he's running around with Leia. He actually runs from Vader. Why he's there, everything about it was, again, breaking all the rules. It really wasn't a Kenobi prequel. It was like a sandwich story in between where they're rewriting canon as much as they're trying to fit a story in. Andor Tony Gilroy is probably one of the more positive reviewed ones. I personally can't stand Andor. I'm going to rewatch it before season 2. I still will stand by. There's an hour and a half story in there. There's a movie story in there, and there's some good ideas in there, but it takes forever to get there. 3 episodes should be 1. Sometimes 3 episodes should be 2. It takes until I think it's episode 6 or 7 where we had the big prison one, which is the best episode. And then at the end, none of it really matters. Half the people fly away, just whatever. Okay, so Andor's ratings did not reflect its esteem. Now, see, that's one of the things I love about reviews and critics is they want to try to say, well, no one watched it, but it's still great. Okay, so by the time you get to it, opens with 624 million minutes and then it closes with 400. Well, people bail out because it's boring. Ahsoka, Clone Wars. Yeah, I'm not going to agree with that assessment, whatever it is. Just thought the second season being announced was even sort of like silly, but it is what it is. Acolyte, which is a joke. That's Leslie Headland. 100 years before Phantom Menace, franchise's most diverse cast, along with several female leads. New York Times revealed the 8-episode series cost 180 million and only 10 million less than Dune Part 2. Oh my gosh, I didn't know it was that bad. Holy cow. Critics liked Acolyte, and it was an absolute memeable joke. They can quote what they want. Just because we didn't like it doesn't mean we're racist. Yeah, good point. I'm not watching it. I just look like dog crap to me. There's nothing Star Warsy about it. It just look like a bunch of like fan fiction or knockoff type stuff. So looking ahead, we have hope. Rebellions are built on hope. 6 live action shows in 5 years. Just one Mandalorian has been an outright hit. It doesn't mean a single season of TV cannot be a win. Limited series are considered hits all the time, but there's a popular close-end limited series debut seasons of like White Lotus or Shogun. Acolyte season 1 took 4 years to make. A second season would likely have taken on half that time. Wow. What's left for Disney? Skeleton Crew, final season of Andor, more Ahsoka? Question mark. In 2020, bullish about 10 new Star Wars shows. Okay. Quote, the company has enjoyed more consistent results on the animated side, where it's seen largely championed by Filoni, Rebels, Bad Batch, Visions, Tale of Jedi, critically acclaimed, like Visions and Rebels. Yeah, not a huge fan of Filoni, but people have definitely been better. Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy, who produced some of the most beloved and iconic film cinema history, is additionally successfully relaunching Star Wars with Force and trailblazing into Mando. Yeah, she's also the one credited with forcing female leads and forcing some of the agenda stuff, hence the South Park meme. So Kennedy shouldn't be immune from criticism. Well, she's not. She's being mocked openly. So obviously the Galaxy's Edge stuff. I don't think they talked about the hotel, right? The big expensive hotel they did as well. The stealth gold mine of the franchise remains merchandising. Disney isn't typically doesn't release numbers, but Star Wars has generated $1 billion for the company last year. Baby Yoda surely is a retail godsend. That's true. And then it's kind of like what? So where are we going to here? Is Disney bad at Star Wars? On balance, no. Yeah. See, this is where I would disagree with your assessment. You laid all this stuff out there correctly, but then you come to the wrong conclusion. Like Disney is awful, like cringe, like Acolyte, all the way up to meh or good is like the best side. Like the best side is like Mando season 1, maybe Force Awakens if you can tolerate it. I think all the trilogy, new trilogy stuff is aged so badly. I've noticed I already watched it, but I wouldn't mind sitting through Mando season 1. I'm going to force myself to get through Andor and see, but yeah. Quote, Disney gave Star Wars fans what they wanted for decades, a lot more Star Wars from different visionary filmmakers, and some of it is terrific. Now, see, that's where I disagree. None of it is terrific. The dormant franchise that once followed a single dynastic storyline has exploded into a more diverse galaxy of characters and stories. Even the off-the-line sequel trilogy has sequences within each film that are inarguably stunning. Okay, maybe I had to. I'm not watching them again to fact check you on that. So there are sequences that I like in Force Awakens. I've rewatched that one. So all right. So here's the question: could Disney be better at Star Wars? Well, yeah, of course. And then it kind of talks about all sorts of nonsense. But this is they're quoting Bob Iger, and Bob Iger's just he's talking out both sides of his mouth. It's a joke. In 1981, Lucas changed the title of the first film to New Hope, a game as apt literally fueled executives, creatives, and fans ever since. Each time another Star Wars title opens, rousing fanfare, a scroll. Yep, they stopped doing that. They stopped doing the scroll. They stopped doing the Starfield. So, again, why they stink. Um, so here's my thing. The biggest thing is they want to be a girls brand, right? When Disney bought it, they were like, well, you know what? There's a whole bunch of girls that don't watch Star Wars. We'll make stuff about girls with girls for girls. And Kathleen Kennedy is to blame for that. And yeah, they got away from tradition. They stopped doing the scroll. They stopped doing things. They started changing the name of Boba Fett's ship. They banned Slave Leia. They didn't put the three main characters together in Force Awakens. They do all these things. Like they keep trying to shove Reva down your throat. And if you don't like Reva, you're a racist. Not that Reva's a bad character. You know, if you don't like Acolyte, you must be a racist instead of it just not being a very good show. Things like that. So all of that is the problem. So is Disney bad at Star Wars? Yeah, of course it is. Like, dear Lord, yes. Whenever your best stuff isn't in the top 3 on a list of 9 movies, or actually we're well past 9, right? So you have 3, you have 9 main movies, and then you have the other couple. So if you're looking at 11 movies, is there more than those? Yeah, it's just 11, right? Their 3 movies are not on the top. None of those movies are in the top 3. And argue they're probably not in the top 5. So you've done something wrong. The TV shows, you don't really have competition other than like what the holiday special and the cartoons. What I think most people would rather watch the cartoons. So it is it's a rough time to be a Star Wars fan, and I yeah. So interesting. I will say it was interesting to see the article at least being out there. I just think it ended up in the same old problem though. It draws the wrong conclusions. It's having sort of like the weight and the hammer of saying, listen, even if I think it's great, fans don't. That's what the answer should be. Even if you think it's great, and there is a percentage of people that do like it, the numbers are not there. You went from 2 million to 1 million on these movies. Something went wrong. You got these TV shows and everything is a decline. Everything is a decline. Everything is a decline. Look in the mirror. Look in the mirror.